attention, please. We're getting ready to start our webinar and our lecture series, and I'm really excited to be here today and welcome you all to the 5th annual Margaret M. Calarco Lectureship on Leadership at University of Michigan. I'm Nancy May. I'm the Chief Nurse Executive here at Michigan Medicine, and I will say that Marge Calarco was a hard person to follow. Her leadership over the years has been embedded and ingrained in the fiber of nursing at University of Michigan, and I've been honored and privileged to have known and worked with her. With the power of this hybrid gathering, we are excited to announce that we are being joined today by nurses from the country, students and faculty at the School of Nursing, as well as our alumni near and far, and nurses from various sites at Michigan Medicine. Today, the CNOs and I were on a call at the health system, now our new health system, and we also invited them to come. It was a short notice, so I'm not sure if they're here, but if they are on the call, we welcome you to this lecture today. This lecture is truly a gathering of our nursing family, as Dr. Calarco envisioned, and Marge is all about family and community of nursing. If I know nothing else about Marge, it's all about the community and how we come together. So when this lectureship was created in her recognition of 17 years here within the health system, it really was about her dedication to foster and grow and mentor nursing leadership through education. And the endowment lecture was set up in her name. The aim for the lecture was to focus on leadership, an area Dr. Calarco spent her entire career learning about, focusing on, exemplifying all of her best practice, continuing her own development. I don't know if you know, but she's a Johnson Woods Scholar. So she was always looking at ways she could make leadership stronger for herself as well as here at Michigan. So when we think about her legacy, she continues to do research. And in the last 5 years, the School of Nursing and Michigan Medicine have developed this co-sponsorship really to honor her and to underscore their commitment to strong partnerships. I'd like to share a quick thank you for the committee that selected those who volunteered in planning this event today, as well as Dr. Dean Patricia Hearn through the School of Nursing, as they help make this event a success every single year. And what just gives me goosebumps is that this year we have so many people live in this room. Last year when we did this, we had a handful of just people that really wanted to connect with Marge. I encourage you all to take time. If you don't know Marge, you need to. She's an amazing leader. Unfortunately, though, Dean Hearn was not able to join us today in person, but though we look forward to continuing this partnership with her in years to come, so we can not only honor Marge's legacy and leadership, but also celebrate nursing today together. I'd like to mention just a few housekeeping items before we introduce our speakers. The following each presentation, we will open the floor for just a brief comments and questions and answers after each one of our presenters present. If you're joining us virtually, we ask that you type your question in the Q&A box. If you're viewing this presentation at the School of Nursing in the lecture hall and you have a question, you can make your way up to the podium, type in your question. And if you're in Danto here today, just please raise your hand and you can hit the button and the green light will come on so that your speaker's on. And as soon as you quit speaking, the button will turn red. So you don't have to hold it down, in other words. If you're interested in receiving continuing education units for this, and we hope you are, you need to attend the entire session, you need to sign in, and you need to fill out a Qualtrics evaluation. If you're joining us in person here at Danto or in the School of Nursing Lecture Hall or virtually, please be sure to sign in using the QR code, which we will show next. Yep, it's on the screen. So get your phones out and let it hit your phone so that you can receive an email within the next day or so with those Qualtrics questionnaires that you'll need to fill out. Now we'd like to get to our presentation and welcome our speakers. All of our speakers are nurses working here today, sharing their stories at University of Michigan and in some sort of formal or informal leadership role. They will be sharing their journeys as champions for a project that they have moved forward, that they're going to speak on. So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce our speakers for today's events. Please join me in welcoming the following nurses. Vanessa Shamane Farkori is the Senior Director for Ambulatory Care. Quinn Wolf Eagle is a clinical nurse with the Centralized Nurse Triage Department. They have Nicholas, but I know him as Nick. Wolford is a clinical nurse with the Specialist Workforce for Acute Transport, or SWAT. And Connie Kilborn is a clinical nurse specialist from the Children's and Women's Hospital. So please help welcome our presenters. Vanessa? Okay.
One second here. Hi, I am Vanessa Shamani Fakori. I am so excited to be up here today to talk to you guys about something that is truly my passion, and it is enhancing the patient care experience through the Maria method. But beyond that, it's to talk to you guys a little bit about what I learned along the way. And let me start with just where did my journey begin? My journey here at Michigan Medicine really started as a brand new baby nurse on 12 West, walked in here, see a lot of my fellow colleagues from back in the day walking on night shift. And I will tell you that over the years, I fell in love with nursing. I fell in love with leadership, and fast forward, September 2019, started my dream job in ambulatory care as senior nursing director, which I still am in right now. Yes, that is me on the first day. My husband and I are jokesters, and everyone's going back to school, so that's what we did. 1 month into my new job, I got what every parent's worst nightmare would be, is that your child has cancer. And so one of my twins, Maria, she was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer called Dicer 1 anaplastic sarcoma of the kidney. In seconds, literally, our life changed. Michigan Medicine, Mott, but beyond Mott, all over campus, became our new home. This was what we lived and breathed, was all of the chemo and the treatment and the surgeries. Everything that we started to do was literally in these walls. And I will tell you, I went from being that nurse that walked the halls to being that mom fighting for her kid's life. And it looks very different on the other side of that bed. All of a sudden, I was mom. I was mom who was fighting. And I will preface all of this by saying, anyone that in here that knows me knows that I love Michigan Medicine. Even before I even had children, this was home for me. This was my second family. I have lifelong friends here. And my daughter and her health, and you will see in the next slide where we've come, but she's doing well. And so everything we've done, we've received exceptional care. So this isn't anything other than enhancing the patient care experience through the opportunities that we had when we went through it. And as a nurse, but then as a mom, I saw things very differently. And my lens changed. I put this up here because I've done this ad nauseum, this presentation, and this is the #1 question I get is, where is Maria today? What is she doing? Well, Maria is the cute little one rocking the hot pink glasses, and she is loving life as a brand new kindergartner with her twin sister. And, you know, we are enjoying life in remission. She is a ball of energy. She's technically our middle child. She lives up to that title fully. She will talk your ear off, but has a heart of gold, full of energy. We have some new diagnoses that have come as a result secondary to her treatment, but overall, we are loving life, and you see us often every 3 months doing our thing, but we go home and we love life. But that's kind of how I got here. What my purpose was driven through that experience I had with Maria, and it's still ongoing. But as I mentioned, that patient experience was something I was really, really passionate about, and I still am. So in the midst of all of this craziness between COVID and treatment and whatnot, we get this email that says, does any nurse leader want to be a part of the first cohort for the Nurse Executive Fellowship Academy? And I had this genius idea to click apply, even though my world was in complete shambles. So of course, fast forward, next thing you know, I walk into the NIFA program with 9 other nursing leaders, and some of them, which I see in here today, and we had this running joke of Vanessa's Brain versus Heart project. And the Heart Project one. I wanted to do the Brain Project, walk in with some metric driven COVID and productivity, and my heart was just still knee deep in enhancing that patient experience. So with the help of my colleagues and the coaches and mentors in that program, the Maria Method came to life. It wasn't even called the Maria Method then. I think it was just called Maria Project. And you know, when it ended, I kind of felt like, oh, now what do? I didn't want it to be a one-woman show, but I also didn't want it to be a flavor of the month. It was a very personal thing for me to share, not just with those colleagues, but with the system. And the last thing I wanted to do was not just fail Maria, but to fail my purpose, my drive, which was that enhancing the patient experience. So it felt like a one-woman show, but I will tell you that my passion and my determination and drive to this day continues to keep me going with what I want to do with it. So here is the Maria Method. It is now a badge buddy on a couple of units, but this is the Maria Method. I intentionally used her name as a non-clinical way to enhance the patient care experience. And each letter of her name identifies a behavior or an action item that we do to enhance our interactions with our patients, to enhance the delivery of care. Interestingly enough, I ran into a colleague a couple months ago and they said, can we use the Maria Method, but I don't want to use it in my area for patient interactions. I want to start with it with our teams. I want to start with our staff. And I never really thought of it that way. And I thought, oh, it's kind of neat. It is true. It is when you look at it and understand even the way we interact with each other, using the Maria Method really will drive that culture shift and change. When I introduced the slide, I mentioned to you the word non-clinical. I was very intentional with non-clinical because to me, as mom now, the patient care experience is not just at the bedside. It starts in the parking garage and it's everything in the middle and then it ends in the parking garage. Everything that happens will drive that patient experience. No one will ever say, wow, that nurse really spiked that bag great. No one will ever say that. But they will remember at 2 a.m. when you are carting a child and a pole filled with those beautifully spiked bags to cross over that elevator threshold. And many of you know what I'm going to say is that the wheels get stuck in the crevice of the lovely elevator. And what does that, you're stuck, you got to lift it. I will tell you one time it happened at 2 a.m. and 7 people walked by and I'm trying to maneuver a child with a port and all these nonsense, all these things. And it was just kind of chaotic. And the 8th person finally helped. And the 8th person's in this room and it's Kelly Beardcox came out of nowhere. And she was like, let me help you swoop this up. And I was like, thank goodness. But it's those little things that I remember. I never will forget that story. In fact, I say that story often. When I tell stories, which to me, storytelling is very much a part of the Maria Method, it's not one of the nurses, but you will hear stories about EVS and food services. Those are the stories that stick. And I wish I had more time because I would love to share those stories with you. But those are the ones that will bring a room to tears, but they are also the ones that are most impactful, the ones that people realize that they are all part of this team, whether they went to become nurses or doctors. EVS and food services and all the people that encompass this organization, they are what drive that patient care experience. So right now, if you go to 12 West, you will see the Maria Method alive and well. This is their DMS board. If you see the first picture over there is a column dedicated to the Maria Method. This is a daily huddle board that they use. Zoomed in on a couple of them. The first one right here is the Maria Moment. And the QR code at the top is no longer a draft. It is a real QR code that is used and you can scan it and you can either input something you witnessed or were a part of that you have, that you will be able to put in witnessing someone or being a part of that enhancement of the Maria Method to for patient care. The last one is a tip of the week, and there's numerous different tips of the week, usually one-liners. This one specifically, if I recall, was about identifying how patients want to be referred to as. And not only does it align with Maria Method, but it also it involves alignment with our initiatives here for DE&I and BASE and all the amazing things we are here. So leadership lessons that I learned. The first one is this place can be as big or as small as you make it. Start small. Lord knows I wasn't. I'm in the middle of NIF. I was like, I want billboards and I want badge buddies. I wanted the whole 9 yards. But I had to come back to what I really wanted to do here. What was my purpose? What was my drive? Put that marketing hat on and find your key stakeholders and start marketing. It's okay to hear no. In fact, there was times where I wanted that no. That no gave me insight to what do I need to do to tweak this to make this better, that will really resonate and not be a flavor of the month, but really have sustainability in areas. Believe in your work. I think I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I want to be a part of it. And so that's what believing and having that passion in your work and in your purpose is really important. And my last leadership lesson is, if not you, then who? Who's going to do it? I think we've all been in a situation where we thought, I wish they would just fill in the blank. Well, instead of they, why don't it just be you? And my final thoughts is that if you listen to me today, I never once mentioned my role or my title here at Michigan Medicine because it's completely irrelevant. My purpose here is as a nurse, and we're all leaders, regardless of it. And it may sound cheesy, but it's absolutely true. Tap into your strengths. We all have them. They're all different, and that's what makes us great, but tap into your strengths. What makes you able to deliver that high quality care? And not only let it advance that delivery of care, but also advance you both personally and professionally. And finally, what is your why? Why are you here? Why did you sign up to not just be here today on Friday at 11 a.m., but why are you here as a nurse? What's your purpose? What's your goal? Bring your why back to the front and center of what you do every single day. And I promise you, as nurses, as whatever it is that we are with our roles and titles here, it will drive your everyday interactions with not only your patients, but with your colleagues. So find your why, let it drive you, and let it be everything to you. My why is on that board, and I hope you all find your why and bring it back to front and center. Thank you so much.
All right, it looks like currently we don't have any questions. Does anybody in this room? No, okay. Quinn, would you like to join us?
All right. So good morning. My name is Quinn Wolf-Eagle, and I am a registered nurse who's been with Michigan Medicine for the last 11 years. I began my career on 7 East in CS Mott Children's Hospital before I transferred over to ambulatory care. I currently perform symptom management within centralized nurse triage, or CNT, which is Michigan Medicine's 24/7 primary care nurse triage telephone line for established patients. A major turning point in my career was when I worked on the pilot project for CNT and was an active participant in determining our nursing workflow. This experience led me to apply to the Leadership, Analytics, and Innovation Master's Program in the School of Nursing at the University of Michigan. In my first semester, I took Strategic Resources and Healthcare Operations Leadership, taught by Dr. Barbara Medvec. This course introduced me to a white paper from the Institute for Healthcare Improvement. It challenged me to approach leadership thoughtfully and intentionally by highlighting the high-impact leadership behaviors of transparency, frontline engagement, person-centeredness, relentless focus, and boundarylessness. My final project in the course was to submit a business plan proposal. As a frontline worker who felt stuck if I could not provide my patients with an appointment, I knew I wanted to find a way to increase appointment access in primary care. While I worked on my business proposal, I exercised these high-impact leadership behaviors, and I learned a lot about what it means to take on a leadership role in nursing. In the beginning, I reached out to stakeholders in primary care. I knew I wanted to provide greater urgent appointment access for our patients, but I was unsure how to go about developing this plan. I learned there were key questions that needed answering first. Which primary care division would this clinic serve? How would it be staffed? Where would it be located? And are we utilizing all of our resources effectively in current state? I was able to have robust conversations with primary care's Associate Chief Nursing Officer and my clinical nursing director about my goals, and began to formulate an outline of what an urgent access clinic could do for our patients. To pursue full transparency of primary care needs, I collected data from dashboards so I could perform a deeper analysis on appointment utilization rates. I soon saw a need for our adult patients in general medicine's in the general medicine division. I continued my efforts on my business plan and shifted focus to my area of expertise, the front line. So when an appointment is not available for a patient, my coworkers and I are concerned about their safety because we're not sure where, when, or if a patient will seek care when it's needed. I developed a value stream map seen here, and as you can see, my call times will increase if I cannot provide my patients with an appointment. Sometimes I look for local urgent cares, and other times I page the on-call provider for advice. I connected with an administrative assistant from general medicine and a representative from paging services who provided me with paging submission content sent to our general medicine on-call providers after clinic hours. I reviewed what kind of advice our team pages for, and I saw the potential for an urgent access clinic to minimize provider burden and lessen the number of pages submitted after clinic hours. Ultimately, the time spent finding alternatives to care is an opportunity for improved nurse triage efficiency. Although these value stream maps provide some transparency into C&T workflow, I conducted even further analysis and developed weekend-specific measures and metrics looking at unit-wide call abandonment rates, wait times, staff scheduling, and call times, so I could showcase a typical weekend in C&T. Next, I focused on person-centeredness. As I continued in my studies, I read something that really resonated with me. And that's, instead of only asking my patients what's the matter, I should also be asking them what matters to you. I know what I hear from my patients, but I needed concrete evidence that could be used as support for an urgent access clinic. I connected with a representative from the Office of Patient Experience who taught me how to review Press Ganey survey results from patients who took the time to evaluate their experience after scheduled appointments. By collaborating with someone outside of my traditional nursing role, I harnessed my curiosity about the patient experience by gathering patient-specific data. I began combing through these surveys and reading patient comments. Throughout my research, two things were confirmed. Patients are overwhelmingly complimentary of their primary care providers, but they desire continuity of care and increased access to their Michigan medicine team. Throughout my project, I had to maintain relentless focus and took time to pause. Is what I'm proposing aligning with my organization's mission, vision, values, and base strategic priorities seen here? With the proper data in my arsenal, I made a sound, evidence-based business plan proposal. Centralized care, a Saturday afternoon general medicine clinic offering urgent appointments to established patients. By utilizing an already fully operational primary care office and combining C&T and primary care resources, centralized care will increase appointment access to general medicine patients, improve patient satisfaction scores, and bring revenue to primary care. When I envision centralized care, there's flexibility to meet patient care needs with in-person or video visits available, and nurses can handle their calls more efficiently. I exercise boundarylessness as I created my own weekend-specific data, collaborated with others outside of my nursing discipline, and found innovative ways to provide win-win scenarios with centralized care. The most valuable thing I learned from my experience, though, is that change does not have to be hierarchical. I persevered to go beyond my telephone triage comfort zone and cultivated an interdisciplinary network to advocate for increased access to care. My goal in proposing centralized care was to challenge the status quo, and I am proud to report that I was able to present my business plan to primary care's ambulatory care clinical officer and associate chief nursing officer, and am awaiting next steps. As I move forward in my career, I need to continue to bring the patient perspective to the forefront, collaborate with others outside of my department, and champion the concerns and visions of my fellow nurses. I would like to say thank you to the nursing leaders that I've had the opportunity to work with in graduate school and my workplaces. I know I would not be here today if it were not for the supportive, transformational leadership that continues to inspire and collaborate with me each and every day. Thank you all so much for your time today and for allowing me to share my story. Any questions?
Here comes Nicholas.
Yeah. Good. Test, test. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, thumbs up. I like that in the back row. First off, a show of hands. Well, first off, my name's Nick. I'm a SWAT nurse here at Michigan Medicine. I am a staff nurse, and I'm proud to say that. And I'm very proud of Quinn with all of her accomplishments too. So it's nice to see. But a show of hands, how many people here are administration? Majority. Oh, we got quite a bit. Staff nurses? Huh? Got a few. Awesome. All right. All right, so we want to get it figured out. So essentially, like I said, my name's Nick. I work with SWAT. So I'm gonna go through our background really quick. The title of mine is Innovative Solutions to Decrease Hospital Admissions. I have my master's degree and bachelor's as well. So specialized workers for acute transport. Anybody work with SWAT here before? A couple people? Yes, SWAT. SWAT stands for Specialized Workforce for Acute Transport, also known as Smart, Witty, and Talented. That's what we try to send everybody. Patients have called it sedation with a twist, which I love that one. So I really kind of preferential to that. But essentially, we're an in-house critical care team. What we do is we facilitate all critical care transports in the hospital. We're a team comprised of nurses, paramedics that work collaboratively to take high-risk neonates, pediatrics, and adults to procedures throughout the health organization. We also do moderate sedations. Since I've been here, we started out around 700 transport. I've been here for 10 years now. And now we had over 1,800 requests last month. So we've grown exponentially. And a lot of that is due to our remarkable staff and administration, but also due to some of the throughputs that we've helped increase here. So we'll share that with you. Our sedations went from about 40 to I think we had 130 requests last month. So that shows you the scale at which we've improved since the last few years. We're very proud of it. Now my button's not working. Here we go. Caring for patients, our firsthand experience. So essentially in SWAT, when we do these procedures, sometimes we'll do like a bedside sedation. So we'll use this one for example. I want to make this to staff nurses administration so you can tie to it. So we do these bedside sedations for bone marrow biopsies. These patients were originally, if they, through the cancer center, through Rogo Cancer Center, they would come into the hospital, have to get a bone marrow biopsy. Does anybody know what that is? Yep, everybody does. We're good. So essentially, that procedure would get done, and if they couldn't handle that procedure, they would then be offered moderate sedation in-house. So that would force them to be admitted to the hospital and then stay in the hospital. So this patient then would, if they failed this procedure, would endure that process and then be admitted to the hospital for over 40 hours. That was the average duration before they get moderate sedation. So imagine going through a procedure you're already afraid of, you're NPO for, now you're admitted to the hospital, you don't know what's gonna happen. So these patients were left NPO for over 24 hours, very often. So it's a very fearful experience. You'd walk in the room, the bedside, patients would be crying and you're just like, how do I help you? So, and I know as nurses and administration, you guys see this every day. There's little processes everywhere. And what I want to do is bring this back home so we can look at a process in which to capture this data and show the world what we do, because we make these improvements all over the hospital. One of this is a portion of what we completed. And we actually, I thought this was a small thing, but if you'd like to raise your hand up a little bit. Barb Hensinger, she actually recommended, she hates recognition, but we're gonna give it to her anyways. She actually recommended that we present this to Magnet, and we sent this to Magnet, and I was actually selected as a keynote speaker of over, I think it's 1,300 applicants. So I just take this, please, back to your departments, because I know you guys all do this every day. So when this happened, we came to the bedside, the patient was crying. I got to that point. Now this patient is tearful, I don't want to do this, I'm so afraid. So we would get there, calm the patient down and help relax the patient. KOB, who's a former survival flight nurse, I don't know, many of you probably know her. Her and I went in this case and we're like, well, how can we fix this process? And we didn't know how to go about it. And whenever you want to start a new project, what's the first thing people want to say? Well, you can't do this because you're an inpatient service. That's an outpatient. The sedation committee's got to agree. There's costs associated with that. You have to get nursing approval. This is not inpatient, it's outpatient. You're not an outpatient service. Or you have to allocate a room where we're going to do these procedures, anesthesia, proceduralist, billing, clerical staff, the list goes on. Everybody always has these headwinds. They want to say, oh, we can't do that. Or this is why, I'm not sure, is that plausible? The biggest thing is you have to consider all these and have an answer before you take this to that individual. So we worked with the Rogo Cancer Center and we considered all of these potential costs and procedures and brought all these to her ahead of time. So when she sat down, was like, I had a couple questions, we had answers. And she was very motivated to help work with us. So it helped fast track this entire process. So what this did then is it helped us get this going. So what we did is, well, everybody here, are we short staffed? Yeah. So take out another project, does that sound like something we want to do? It's hard. We want to, but it's hard. So what we had to do is in SWAT, we created a web-based app. So this I did simultaneously with this project. We created a web-based app, and we actually were on paper when I started this health organization. And we transitioned it, all of it, to a web-based app. So now our staffing, our workload, all of our data analytics, everything gets fed directly from our app and our workload into Tableau. And then it's correlated a large spreadsheet. We have data spreadsheets. I built this whole thing from the ground up with the help of HITS. And now we know what times our slow times are, what time we're really busy, and we helped increase our staffing ratios. So what we did is we realized we were staffed in appropriate times. So we had like a 30% change to our staffing ratios. And that allowed us to take on more run volume, and we found out where our slow times were. So when we looked at this data, we said, hey, we can make this work for Road Cancer Center. We're slow on these 2 dates at this time. Let's see if we can facilitate that. And then we worked through that, all those headwinds, and we're able to accomplish it. So here's that pre and post data. So these patients were in the hospital for 40.1 hours. Average cost per night is $14,000. And then afterwards, the post data was a 1.6 hour stay. That's from when you arrive. This isn't from when we start the procedure. This is from when you arrive to the hospital. So we went to 1.6 hours. It's a 96% reduction in length of stay, and avoided patient costs is over $5 million. And this data is from months ago. So I anticipate, I think within 2 years, will be over $10 million. And also to add to this, it's also opened up hundreds of beds in the hospital. Because what's one thing we have a shortage of? Hospital beds, a lot of those. So we've opened up hundreds of beds to allow treatment to patients from outside facilities. So this has been a huge success for our department, I think our hospital, and it's a scalable solution. And that's the biggest thing we want to focus on, is that this is scalable, and it's already been replicated in 2 other departments since then, and we've had very similar outcomes. And now here I want to talk about data, positive change framework. So you got to put a positive twist on everything, right? So pre-data, so biggest thing is if you see an initiative a nurse brings to you or administration wants to bring up, take the time to collect the pre-data. Because I know Epic is great, it does collect a lot of data, but sometimes it's not all collected. So it took us probably 4 months to actually get all the data that we wanted to do. So we had to plan for it, we had to take all that data and capture all of it. So once we captured that data, we then did an intervention period to see how this is going to work out and where that is. And that might not start right away. So if it took you 5 months, 6 months, a year to get the pre-data, then you start your intervention period. And then you know you can measure it. So then we measured our post data and we see what the change was. Because all too often we're really eager and excited and we want to make positive change and we jump right to it without collecting any data. Or we'll get it when we get there. Well, then you can't prove any of the change you had. And then if you can prove it, then it's that way you can help the next project. Because if you go to somebody and say, hey, I made this initiative, but we don't know what change it really made, well, then how are they going to approve you to your next project, right? Yeah. So we were able to post that data and show, and now everybody that's inquired about this is very eager to move on to the next process. So in summary, we created and improved a process that enhanced the level of care for our patient population by reducing the risk of infection, pain, cost, and time spent in the hospital. Due to these reduced admissions, this has in turn increased bed availability by hundreds of patients to be seen. These changes simultaneously improve the patient experience while increasing the hospital throughput. Most importantly, these changes are scalable to many departments and health organizations. So I just want to I'm really proud of SWAT, what they were able to accomplish in our administration and our upper administration for supporting us, allowing us to make this decision. So really, really cannot thank you enough. Last 2 keynotes. It's hard not to get caught in the minutia day to day. We're all so busy. I was literally 5 minutes ahead of time. She was freaking out. So I had another patient care to take care of, patient transport to facilitate. It's easy to get caught up in minutia day to day, but you have to think long-term how this frees things up. We used to spend, I think it was 140 hours a month collecting patient data, auditing. Think how many audits you guys do in your department. Not just yourself, but your staff. All that's automated now. So it's all vertically integrated. It's all through our Tableau system, through our web-based app. So building processes to improve your workload to allow you to take on these big projects just helps so much, because then you're freer and you can help focus on the big picture, because I think that matters so much. It's easy to lose track of. And one thing that can't be understated is somebody told me this, and I think it was this young lady right here, Margaret, the rapport you have with individuals is remarkable. If people do not like you, they will not work with you. So be nice, never burn a bridge. And those rapports are well done. And yes, yeah, you know that. So thank you. Any questions at all? No questions. One, yeah. All right, I have a question.
Great job, Nick. Okay.
Thank you.
So you said that this was replicated in 2 other departments. What are next steps and more, new opportunities where do you see this moving next? Or are you having those discussions?
They have been made, but nothing's really taken part. Like right now, I'm very active with my kids. So I do help a lot with that. So I know I'm not here all the time, but some things haven't, I don't know what the next step is. Right now we did women's health clinic and we also did seventh floor, the women's clinic. They've expanded that, but I think it's scalable to anybody wants to help. I'm happy to help with, but I think it's scalable to the whole health organization. Just vertically integrating and sharing that data across the health system, I think is crucial because for you guys for administration to get data is quick and easy, but for staff, like for you to find it, go through those metrics, that can be a chore. So to make that accessible to everybody so that they feel empowered to help make these change, I think would really help out. Did that kind of answer your question or? Yeah.
I just have a comment. One great presentation from all 3 so far. Just so impressed with all the work. But I just want to be clear, we don't have an easy time getting data either. So it's a process, right?
Yeah.
But I just had to throw that in. I had to kind of chuckle.
She threw it out here, so I'll comment on it now. But the data, because the health organization, what I do, because I'm firsthand experience, because I'm a staff nurse, so I work on the front line. So I go through and make sure our data is filtered and appropriately, because there is a lot of double charting, or like if you look at every department here, nobody charts the same spots. It's like the processes, everything's not standardized. So for that data to be clean is not always accurate. Like I think we had 4 C companies like, oh, we guys did 40 transports last month with this. Like we have 6 people up here right now. Like I mean, we did 260, but they thought we did 40 because that's the data they got. So if you're not there firsthand, it's really hard to get that data clean because I do compare it to the health organization data and I know it can be messy. So that's rightfully so because it's hard to get good, clean data.
We did have one question online from Rebecca Williams.
Oh.
Have you thought about
Hi, Rebecca.
publishing this data to highlight the innovative work and solutions created within house with results showing significant increase in patient outcomes and financial gains?
Definitely considered. Definitely considered it. I would love to. We did speak at the Magnet conference, so we did well there because that was a great experience. We loved that. I would love to publish. That would be a good goal. Yeah. Nothing else? Yes.
I just had a comment for you. So the Women's Health Clinic, so I helped stand that up for you guys. It's increased our safety and we really, really appreciate your teams that come up. And it's been a great service for that floor, for sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Sid.
Just want to say one other thing. Nick did present last year at Magnet, and as he said, it was an amazing experience. We were there cheering him, but he also had probably a couple hundred more people in the room cheering him. And I was proud of him for taking time to put an abstract together. We have some wonderful resources here. He had mentioned Barb Hensinger in the Magnet program office, who really has been so willing to help people put abstracts together. But I highly encourage, these projects that we're hearing about today are top-notch projects that there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be trying to disseminate knowledge learned across the country. And Magnet is a world designation. So highly encourage you to reach out and think about submission of data. Abstracts probably for that conference for next year will be open shortly after the conference ends in October. So think about it. And, if you have a specialty such as our speaker on ambulatory care with triage, AAACN is another great one that you could submit to that one. So there's also, I always highly encourage people to look at the professional organizations you belong to, because they also give out awards. And many times you can win these awards with this work you're doing. So it continues to help build our brand of nursing excellence at Michigan, and highly encourage people to take time to do that. So Connie, you're up next.
Sounds amazing. Can you hear me? All right, great. So I'm Connie Kilborn, and I'm a clinical nurse specialist, and I work in C&W and the Children's and Women's Hospital. I have a lot of initials after my name. It's taken me 35 years to collect them. I'm not going to get together overnight. The process for sure. I was also kind of really impressed
Hold
to
on one
see
sec.
how many of the people that are in this, that we're speaking actually have some of their roots in C&W and the Children's Hospital. Because I really, I'm so proud to work there.
I'm gonna fix you. Hold on. Come here. Fix that one, sorry.
No worries. I'm flexible. Okay, so when you're a brand new nurse and you're working in the hospital, you have rose-colored glasses, you're excited, there's no problems, right? I'm getting my work done, I get my meds in on time, nobody's arresting on me. I'm feeling pretty good about myself as a nurse. And this is kind of where we all start out, rose-colored glasses, and we're feeling pretty proud of all the things that we do. Get my clicker back. Well, then, things change over time. You start to see things a little bit differently. You start to be like, okay, there's something going on over here, but I really need to focus to get my work done. I'm still a novice, right? I'm not quite ready. Then you work for 30 years in a hospital. And after 30 years, you're like, there are some bigger problems that we probably could tackle. And I think that, I have the passion and energy to do it. So evidence-based practice, when I was a new nurse in the 80s, I didn't know anything about that. I'm an ADN nurse. I don't know what's going on there. CLABSIs, CAUTIs, HACs, healthcare acquired conditions. I don't know. I worked in the ER when I first started as a nurse. I didn't hear anything about that. So these are all concepts and things that I had to learn about over time because it wasn't something that was taught in nursing school for sure. So I get a call one day. I'm a clinical nurse specialist in the cardiac ICU. We haven't had pediatric representation on the pressure injury committee for 5 years. They've been begging somebody from C&W to come over and help them. So I finally say, okay, I'm going to do it because I'm tired of doing skin day and seeing all these problems. It's really disheartening. And okay, I'm on the committee a couple months and I get a call from Carol. Carol is a nurse on 7 East. Carol says to me, Connie, what's going on? We have changed a product that we need for our patients that it's a Sensicare. And now all of our kids on 7 East, which are the chemo kids, they're all having bleeding butt rashes. What's happening? Parents are bringing things in from home. How did this happen? I'm like, I don't know how this happened. We did have a trial, but we didn't have pediatric representation on that committee full time so that we didn't really know what we were missing when that change happened. It's nobody's fault. We just didn't really know the big changes that were going to happen. Oh man. Then we have another patient in my ICU who's wearing a scuba mask, all right, 24 hours a day. The poor kid's face is breaking down. He's got weeping wounds on the face. I hear from one of the respiratory therapists, Karen Shambaugh. She comes to me and she says, Connie, I have something that I saw at a conference I want to try. We put something is called Comfeel now that we use in the whole hospital, put it on the skin. This child's skin healed, even while still having the mask on. Like, wow, this is really powerful. We're feeling really good about this. Well, should we try to find a way to bring this product into the hospital? The problem is that there's so many challenges for change in the institution. There really is. So there's competing priorities. Pressure injuries is a giant problem across the entire health system. It's not a small thing. We've got patients in all different age groups and all different situations. One size does not fit all. It really doesn't work that way. What a newborn needs who's getting chemo and what an adult needs in the CCMU or something is not the same thing that they need. So we really need to figure out how we're going to do it. And it takes a lot of time to make a lot of changes. It takes a lot of time to go through and look at all the different groups and how is one change going to affect everybody. So really what you need to do is find others who share your passion. We created a group in C&W. They called themselves the Dedicated Wound Victors. They're actually the Skin Day liaisons. We said, hey, let's get together and form a committee and let's look at what we can do to make things better. Everybody jumped on board. I'm not even kidding you. We had our first meeting. We had 25 nurses. We have 7 inpatient units. So we had 25 people show up to do this work. Some of them are in this room right now. And it was so excited. So inpatient units, we have 3 ICUs, 7 units total. We've grown now to include our OR and PACU team is also part of that work. I mean, it's really become a whole hospital-wide initiative. And the ER is jumping on board as well. So we're really, really proud of all that work. But it was Carol who called me and said, Connie, how'd this happen? What are we doing? And I said, okay, we're going to make this happen. Carol, don't worry. You're going to see a picture of her in a minute. Okay, so Kamishi buy cards. Kamishi buy cards. K cards, I'm sure you've heard of K cards before.
This is something that we started doing in 2019. Luckily, we got started before the pandemic. Kamishi Bike Cards are a quality improvement tool that we started using in C&W to help us better understand our problem. What are we doing? What can we do better? What is the real problems? They help us confirm the work that's being done by tracking bundle elements, which we call process measures. We use the solutions for patient safety. It's a pediatric collaborative to increase bundle compliance. That should lead to improved outcomes. This is leadership at all levels. All inpatient pediatric units do weekly rounds. So we started with our big committee. We made a lot of changes. I can only talk about one thing. I had to focus it down to K cards, but so many things that we have done. So we started doing K cards in 2019. We partnered with respiratory therapy. They were the co-chair of our committee. We had made our own little group up over there at C&W, and we were really happy about it. And we started with respiratory, actually started doing the first K cards as part of our pressure injury prevention group. Why? Because non-invasive devices for respiratory is what was causing the majority of our pressure injuries. So that's where we started. And that's when we started using the ComFeel, and we started, making sure that we're rotating our devices. Are we documenting? Are we educating? Are we educating the nurses, educating the respiratory therapist staff, and working together as a team. So we started doing K cards, looking at the bundle elements. In pediatrics, pressure injuries are primarily driven by devices. So 80% of pressure injuries in C&W are device related, things that we're strapping onto kids, taping onto kids, putting on children's skin. It's not necessarily from mobility and turning. So our K cards actually focus on devices, and looking in our assessment tools that we use focus on our risk assessment tools, also focus on the number of devices that you have. If you're focusing on the right pieces, then you can make a change. So that's kind of where we started out with our K cards, and respiratory therapy did a great job getting us started. So currently we track non-invasive pressure, non-invasive NIPPV devices. We track trachs, and then we do what we call high-risk patients based on their Braden QD score. So the one thing we would like to say is we're actually doing 3 different types of K cards in C&W. And I know that K cards have spread over to the adult side, and they're using them across the house now. So we are pretty proud of that as well. So a lot of work is happening. So K card problem solving process, I would just like to say that bundle reliability, K card bundle for devices, the big thing is offloading pressure, rotating the device, right? And moving if you can. What is the problems? We don't have the right padding. That was one of the problems that we saw when we were looking at various devices. Seek to understand, why don't we have the right padding? What is it that we really need? What would be the right thing? Mitigate the problem in real time. Let's get the device rotated. Let's get some padding. What are we going to do? Let's get the patient turned. All the things. So we do it right now. It's not a chart review. You're not going back to see if somebody was turned last week. You're looking right now at the patient in real time and deciding what you need to do. You need to have a way to display your learnings, and that's kind of where this part comes into play, where you can see the red and green K cards. And you got to use the data to develop your interventions. Implement your intervention, and it's kind of a VDSA. You just kind of go back around and keep working on your process. Our daily management system called DMS, our huddles, you saw a picture earlier of what a huddle board looks like. Our leadership, what we're doing and supporting the staff. K cards are really a scientific problem solving. In Children's Hospital and pediatrics in general, we don't have 16,000 multi-center randomized clinical trials to tell us how to do something. Research in the pediatric area is not anything compared to what they have in the adult areas. So we have to realize resources we have. The Solutions for Patient Safety is a collaborative. We all work together across the country, other academic hospitals. What are the best practices? What are the things that we can do? So we work together and we help each other, and we meet quarterly and we learn about what we can do to make things better and what's working. I've enjoyed it tremendously. Let's see. I think that's close. So we're going to talk about one of our big success stories, trachs. My trach friends are here in the audience. So if you look at the green line, that's the compliance rate for the bundle elements. Was the device rotated? Was there pressure offloaded? Did we do all the things that we say are good for preventing pressure? If you look at the blue dots, those are the K cards. So across the bottom, you can see the number of pressure injuries. This is like 3 years worth of data. You can see the number of pressure injuries like one or two, right? You can see those gray spikes that stick up. If you see that, you can also see that as we started doing K card rounds and we started talking, and part of the other part I love about K cards is it's your teaching. You're teaching people when you're doing this. You're at the bedside with the nurse and you guys are going through this together and you're teaching. The number of K cards, so the trach K cards are being done by our trach outpatient nurse practitioner and our CCC. So they, by themselves as a two-man team, are doing all these K cards, and it's amazing what they've done. They've done hundreds. And you can see that as we've gone through and we've done more and more teaching, you can see that our pressure injuries, I can't say we haven't had one since then, I'm not gonna lie, but you can see this is a clear example. If you can keep your K card bundle compliance above 90%, which is the green dotted line, you can prevent pressure injuries. It is possible to do. So this is a giant success story for C&W. Okay, you ready to see Carol? Here's Carol. I've been a nurse 34 years. Carol's been a nurse much longer than I have. She's standing right next to me. And Carol and I are friends now. And Carol is one of the nurses that does K card rounds. She loves it. It's like her passion. She is just like such a great resource. She's taught me so much. And next to her is Denise. Denise is another one of the dedicated wound victors. And this is during COVID, so we all have our masks on. And these girls every week, except for skin day week, we don't do anything extra that week. They go around to the acute care units and they find the patients who are at high risk, and they go in the room and they talk to the nurse and they do a head to toe skin assessment, and they're preventing further harm and pressure injuries. I can't even tell you how amazing it is. So if you look at this is actually a Pareto chart, very fancy, and it says so this is for the trachs, and these are done by the trach nurses. Carol is not a trach nurse, but it's okay. So one of the biggest things about the trachs is one finger can fit between the neck and the trach ties. That was the most common missed item. Right? So if that's an item that's on our bundle elements and that's one that we're missing, then that's where we're going to focus our education. The next one is the vent tubing or trach mask in a midline position. If you turn the patient to the left and their tubing's off to the right, they're getting pressure on that trach plate onto their skin. So that's another reason. So we can do that teaching while we're doing the K cards. Is the patient's tubing midline when we're talking to the nurse? We go right in and look and see. Is there? Check and see if there's a finger. Can we stick our finger in there? Do we have enough space? If you've ever seen a pediatric patient with a trach, that can be very difficult to do. Sometimes they don't have much of a neck. So that's just kind of, so now we can see where are the most important things. How can we focus what we want to work on? I have no idea what. So, oh, clicker. So the most important thing at the end of the day is that we're all looking in the same direction, that we all have the same goal. This is my team: Tony Owens, Katie Lee, Karen Shambaugh is now retired, so she's not here. And Ebony Bands Brown is our newest team member. We all have different shaped glasses. We all have different color glasses, but as long as we're looking in the same direction for pressure injury for reducing harm, we're happy. And we have reduced pressure injuries since 2019, basically in half since we started doing this work. We had a little blip last year, but really it's come down quite a bit. So we're really proud of that. Any questions? Yes, question.
Not necessarily as a question as much as an accolade for in our general care units. It has been so valuable to within the operationalizing of having the wound victors round on all the units so that we can split up some of that business time. And it also serves as a really good opportunity for them to network to all of our 4 general care units and then use it as a great framework advancement model for work that they're doing outside of their own patient care area. So that's
because they don't round just in their unit.
Yeah.
They're rounding across all the units, and they can see what's happening across. I guess the one thing I didn't mention is I should thank Kelly Baird Cox as a leader, because when I was like, oh my gosh, we can't get anything, we can't trial things, I just don't know what we're going to do, I'm just unsure. She said, let's make a team and let's do it. And we did it, and it worked out great. And I appreciate you so much, Kelly. Let's give Kelly a round of applause. All right, thank you.
amazing presentations. It just gives me goosebumps when I look at the amazing work that our nurses do every day. And all of you are leaders. I think Nick might have said that he thinks everyone's a leader that's a nurse, and I couldn't agree more. But when I look at the projects and the outcomes that we're having and how we continue to not be satisfied with status quo, we still have work to do in our nurse sensitive indicators, but this type of work that Connie is leading throughout the Children's Hospital and Kelly is supporting is just fundamental to the standard of care. And I can't thank everybody for the work they're doing here. It's just amazing. The other thing I want to see is you on podiums talking about it, because once again, it's how we brand nursing at Michigan, and we do some phenomenal work. So thank you all that presented today. Your stories were compelling. Your outcomes were amazing, and I'm inspired by all of you. I just would also like to take a moment to thank Marge, who's once again guided many of us throughout our career. And as I said, she's part of the fabric and the DNA of nursing at Michigan. I would love it if Marge, we give her a round of applause for all the work that we have done. Many of you have told this story, but when I came here and interviewed, the reason I came was because of Marge. And I connected with her in a way that I felt she was authentic. She was real. She was funny. She was witty. She had passion for practice. These are all things that just come right off my tongue, because they really truly are who she is as a leader. And we can all continue to learn from her. The great part is she's at the School of Nursing. She's still doing research. I have a 911 call with her pretty much every Sunday night. And I've gotten a little bit better, but she's been a good confidant for me, been a wonderful mentor for me. So I was wondering, Marge, if you'd love to come up and talk for just a minute.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I just want to say a few thank yous. First, I want to thank every one of the presenters. Your work is a demonstration of your creativity, your commitment to working together, not only with nursing colleagues, but interprofessionally, and most importantly, your commitment to patient care. Your work individually and collectively elevates patient care, it elevates nursing, and it elevates the profession. Now, those of you that know me know I will give an assignment, okay? Just like this one over here. I want you to think about how you're going to work together across the systems, hospitals, to embed the creative work you've been doing, because that's critically important. It elevates patient care at Michigan, but also how you're going to influence patient care across the country and around the world by presenting, but also publishing. As it's been said, we have Barbara Hensinger and also Amanda Gramling that will help you write. Okay, not everybody gets help in writing, but we have help in writing. And you've already done the major work. You've done the work. You have the data. So please think about it. But I just want to thank you all. The work was totally inspiring and perfect examples of nursing at Michigan. I want to take this opportunity to always thank Dr. Dave Spollinger, who created this lectureship in my name, and it's quite an honor that I'm humbled by. I want to thank Dr. May and Dean Hearn and the teams from the health system and the School of Nursing who brought this presentation together. So with that, I just want to thank you all. Thank you for coming. Thank you for doing the tremendous work you always do. I am so proud to be connected with all of you. So thanks.
So once again, amazing leader, still is once again encouraging us all to do the very best that we can every single day for our patients, our families, and each other. This has not been an easy time to lead over the last few years. And the resiliency our teams have had, our leadership have had, you have inspired me in so many ways just to continue to persevere through some tough times and many challenging things that we've dealt with. And when I talk about community, and Marge has always talked about community, is really how we connect, how we stay together, how the profession of nursing together can do some amazing things. And so even though we have segments, and I tell everybody I know, I don't really like the word segment because it really is silo mentality. We really have to come together, and how we come together and break down barriers. And, you know, you talked about barriers that you have. Anybody today that knows anything about governance, it's really professional governance, and we can't do anything in a silo by nursing. But by God, we have a strong voice, and we can pull together and continue to pull teams together to show the strength that nurses have and the value that we have. We not only have a value from an economic perspective to decrease harm events, decrease cost in healthcare, it's really exceptional patient care that results from that. So the journey we've been on, we have work to continue to do. I think great organizations always look for those opportunities, but these stories today, I'm so inspired by frontline staff coming up and talking about how to solve problems that we've had for a long, long time. Now, access to care is a huge one, and the work that you've done is just phenomenal. Nick's work showing value, quality work coming out of Connie, and then of course Vanessa's story, putting patient experience in front of everything we do. We should put everything about the patient. And so very inspired as always by the collective wisdom in this room and how we can continue to drive the profession. I want to thank you all for attending in person and those that attended virtually to the 5th annual lecture for Dr. Marge Calarco on this leadership lecture series. And we hope to see you again next year, if not sooner, and to talk about our great practice. So thank you.